Have you ever wondered what the man who gave us Jurassic Park wears on his wrist? Today, we're counting down 10 watches connected to him. Brace yourself, because these aren't just tools for telling time, but pieces of movie history. Beginning our countdown at number 10 is the Alsta Nautoscaph. This is a 990-foot water-resistant beast that survived the grueling production in Martha's Vineyard. Spielberg's choice to put this rugged watch on Hooper's wrist in the 1975 classic Jaws was clever. It helped ground the character as a serious oceanographer. Though the original Alsta company went defunct, the watch's association with Spielberg made it such an icon that the brand was resurrected just to bring this model back. It's the ultimate if you know piece for any film buff. But if you think a watch made famous by a shark is impressive, wait until you see what's coming up next. The Rolex GMT-Master. This is a watch made for a man who splits his time between Hollywood and whatever remote film location his next project demands. The reference 1675 was produced from 1959 to 1980. It was originally designed in partnership with Pan Am Airlines for pilots crossing multiple time zones. Spielberg's version leans towards a faded black bezel. It also has a dial with a honeyed patina that only comes from decades of real use. The market value for a clean vintage 1675 can easily hit $20,000 to $50,000 depending on the patina. For Spielberg, it's clearly a reliable companion that matches his director's uniform of a baseball cap and a safari jacket. Although the GMT is a great watch for a working director, which watch does Spielberg reach for when the cameras stop rolling? The Patek Philippe Nautilus. What do you wear to the Academy Awards when you're the most powerful man in the room? If you're Steven, you reach for the Patek Philippe Nautilus. Specifically, Spielberg is known for his reference 3800. This is the mid-sized version of the legendary Gerald Genta design. While modern celebrities fall over each other chasing the oversized 5711, Spielberg's preference for the 3800 is the choice of a true connoisseur. It's thinner, more elegant, and fits perfectly under a tuxedo cuff. Spielberg's version is often seen in 18-karat yellow gold with a blue dial, more like a combination that balances high-end luxury with the porthole sportiness the Nautilus is famous for. This watch retails for upwards of $60,000 in the vintage market, but the money is not the problem here. The Nautilus, reference 3800, is the watch of a man who's reached the absolute summit of his craft. He no longer needs to announce himself when he walks into a room. The room already knows. And speaking of rooms, there's one other watch Spielberg always reaches for when he graces the red carpet. Tank Louis Cartier. Here's a watch that's adorned the wrist of Andy Warhol, Princess Diana, Jackie Kennedy, and our very own Steven Spielberg. His connection to this piece speaks directly to his love of design history and architectural elegance. Actually, the tank is a piece of art. It's been in production for over 100 years and has barely changed. For a director who values timeless storytelling, the tank is the perfect fit. It's the rectangular, understated, and historically inspired by the bird's eye view of a World War I Renault tank. Spielberg has been seen wearing this at more formal industry events. It kind of proves that even a guy who spends his days in the mud with dinosaurs knows how to clean up for a red carpet. At around $13,000, it's one of the accessible pieces in his rotation. Obviously, the tank is a watch for awards ceremonies, but what does Spielberg wear when the job calls for pure technical precision? Taking our sixth spot is the IWC Portugieser Chronograph. This watch was originally conceived in 1939 for Portuguese merchants who wanted a pocket watch grade movement in a wristwatch case. It's always been about precision over flash. In fact, it's a favourite among directors and producers because it looks like something you'd find on the bridge of a ship or a high-tech film set. Spielberg's model has a crisp white dial with deep blue Arabic numerals. There's also a thin stainless steel case and that signature oversized aesthetic that makes every reading feel decisive. Let's just say the Portugieser is the director's watch personified. Priced around $8,000 to $9,000, this is one of the attainable pieces in his collection. Meanwhile, if you're loving these watches of cinema royalty, hit that like button and subscribe right now. Let's get back to the countdown. Swinging into number 5 is the Breguet. Abraham Louis Breguet was the greatest watchmaker who ever lived, and his legacy is stamped into every piece the brand produces. Seeing Spielberg wear a Breguet is a reminder of his love for history. This is the man who spent 3 years researching the minutiae of the Civil War for Lincoln. On the flip side, you can get a gold Breguet Classique from $18,000 to $30,000. No chronographs, no date or gimmicks. Just 200 years of unbroken excellence on your wrist. Now, if the Breguet represents Spielberg the historian, our next watch reveals something far more personal. The watch with two faces. The Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso was originally designed in 1931 for polo players who needed to protect their watch glass from being smashed by mallets. It allows the wearer to flip the case over. For a storyteller like Spielberg, the Reverso is the ultimate metaphor. He's been spotted wearing a gold tribute model. The back of his Reverso is rumoured to be engraved with something personal, as is tradition with this model. It doesn't matter if he's checking the time on the dial or looking at the gold blank side. The Reverso is a piece of engineering that fits his personality perfectly. These pieces usually command a price of around $15,000 to $25,000. Now, we've had dress watches, pilot's watches and art pieces. Let's move to the real chaos. Sitting perfectly at number 3 is the Rolex Submariner. The Richard Milles of the world are great, but the Rolex Submariner is the king of the film set. Spielberg has a long history with the Submariner, often seen on the wrists of his crew and his close friends. This was the first Submariner to feature a date complication, produced from 1966 to 1978. It's now become one of the most sought-after vintage references in the entire Rolex catalogue. Actually, Spielberg's vintage Submariners are the stuff of legend. The reference 1680 with the date window is a staple of his work attire. This is the watch that can handle the salt water of a shark movie and the dust of an Indiana Jones set without breaking a sweat. A well-preserved red sub commands $30,000 and above in today's market, but for Spielberg, the value is in the reliability. So, if the Submariner is Spielberg's watch for conquering the Earth, our number 2 pick is the one that's already conquered something far beyond it. The Omega Speedmaster. Given Spielberg's obsession with the cosmos, it's no surprise he owns the Omega Speedmaster. The Speedy is the only watch flight qualified by NASA for extravehicular activity. It's a manual wind chronograph that hasn't changed much since Buzz Aldrin wore it on the lunar surface. Spielberg's appreciation for the Speedmaster is a nod to his childhood spent looking at the stars, but its symbolic weight in his collection is heavier than gravity. It represents exactly what he spent 50 years celebrating on film. While a standard Moonwatch is about $7,000, its status in Spielberg's collection is priceless. Finally, we get to the most powerful timepieces in his collection, the Patek Philippe Calatrava. This is what Spielberg reaches for when he's accepting a Lifetime Achievement Award or walking into a room as the undisputed legend that he is. The Calatrava is the purest expression of the round wristwatch. No complications, chronograph pushers or diamond bezel. Just flawless proportions and one of the greatest mechanical movements ever assembled by human hands. It is, in every sense, the Schindler's List of watches. Spielberg's rose gold model retails between $25,000 and $40,000, but in the context of a Hollywood power lunch, it's the quietest watch carrying the loudest legacy. For a man whose films will be watched for centuries, the Calatrava doesn't flex, it simply endures. In the end, Steven Spielberg doesn't need 20 complications on his wrist to show his status. His movies do that for him. Now, if a Hollywood Legends collection got you hooked, wait until you see what Keanu Reeves is wearing on his wrist. That's our next video, and you should go ahead and click on it. Thanks for watching.